JDG's composition, that's a lot of people that are diving in on top of it.
So it's Gnar as the final pick. That Sett is going into the support position. Kanavi's taking the bear into the jungle. And I don't know, Volibear against Lillia, I have no idea how that jungle matchup works out, but Zoom certainly got himself a comfortable matchup for the top lane.
They certainly do. Well, when we look at that jungle matchup at least to start things off, both super good at clearing, will both have pretty much a similar clear path as how, well, a clear speed, sorry, as to how quickly they can move out onto their path. It's just a case of where they want to start, what lanes they want to influence. But when we look at the JDG gaming composition, these guys can play either that 1-3-1 where Gnar can go towards a more split push orientated build, or they can look to just shove out these waves and then group up massively and then have this insane team fight where you've got the Gnarls coming in, Ekko stuns coming across the board, multiple flanking positions that could do super well against Victory 5's composition.
And I have to say, I'm just really curious what Weiwei is going to be able to do on this Lillia during those kinds of skirmishes and team fights. That lilting lullaby, if you can get a stack on everyone before popping the ult, that can win a fight in itself.
It really can, and that's where we want to see V5. If they are able to go toe for toe in these team fights, their composition is set up for those 5v5 brawls. We'll have to see if they can do it here today.
We'll have to see what they've got up their sleeves here. Biubiu with the Renekton first pick up against that Gnar in the top side, and Biubiu's been one of the more aggressive top laners of the league. We'll see if he can take on Zoom. People calling Zoom the best top laner in the world back in spring.
JDG 加油！希望你们有精彩的发挥，打出好成绩。
JDG 加油！
It's time to head onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Victory 5's 5th trial, the trial of intellect, and JDG looking good coming out of the draft here. Very cohesive composition from them. V5 on the other side, they're pulling out some wild cards here. Lillia in the jungle, Y4 on this Senna once again. And I'm really curious if they can keep up this tempered aggression that we know them for.
It's going to be exciting to see here, and especially, I mean, you're talking about wild cards, even looking just straight off the bat at Weiwei on this Lillia. We talked about, hey, we've seen Conquer in the top lane. We've seen Phase Rush from the jungle. This is a Dark Harvest coming through for the Lillia. So he wants to get into these lanes, start stacking up those Dark Harvest procs, and be a real big carry for the team in this scenario. And the way that we've seen Lillia built has been a lot through like the Liandry's Torment, the Riley's Crystal Scepter, these kind of items that synergize so well with our kit. So I have to see if that's going to be the name of the game here for Weiwei once again, or if you'll see him even prioritize something like an early Zhonya's, which is what we saw from Leona in that Vici series.
And it's interesting to see both junglers going with a solo start as well. No leashes on either side of the board, which means the bot laners are going to be fine to just get into lane and try and contest for level 2. And you can see both ppgod and LvMao, they're battling for dominance already in that bottom lane.
They really are already.
Skirmish going on as ppgod's in trouble. He's ignited, has to flash away as LoKen gets the slow. JDG winning out the trade.
Yeah, you don't win out in a level 1 trade against this Sett. Huge amount of damage, a lot of burst, and as well paired with Ashe, but there's brawls across the board here, Munch.
It's already kicking off. This is what I wanted to see, and you can see that Yagao knows he has to be aggressive in this matchup, and he's going to be exactly that as he gets his Z drive once again onto Mole. But that's the thing about this matchup, is the Syndra's always going to win on the backside of this. This might just be a solo kill as Yagao barely holds onto his flash.
Just about managing to get away from that one. Will be forced to recall. Mole can push in this wave and then recall, which works out pretty well for himself, but not going to be too much when all is said and done. Both these guys will end up burning pretty much the same amount in this round.
So let's talk quickly about the game plan, because I've got a feeling we're going to have a lot of action here this game, Dagda. Who's the ones that need to put their foot forward and find advantages early on?
It's not so much about who finds advantages earlier on, whereas so much about how both these teams want to play. So as we get to the later points in the game, you've got those, as we talked about, the options here on JDG to go for either a split push style with Zoom, with Yagao, or at least with the build that we're seeing, or the rune choice from Zoom. It looks like he's going to be looking more towards these team fights because he's gone for the grass. Weiwei?
Yeah, Kanavi grabs himself the Scuttle Crab as Weiwei tried to contest for that one, but in the 2v2 right now, Weiwei not feeling that confident.
And this sucks for Weiwei because what's going to happen here is Kanavi can move down towards this bottom side. Look at where the bot lane is pushed in, although as I say that,
So we've got a bit of a 2v2 in the bottom side, and I think ppgod actually might not be able to get away with this one. The flash forwards, and that's a kill. Going the way of LoKen. We talked about this bottom lane. JDG winning out.
and they've become so much more aggressive on JDG's side, but Weiwei is here to punish
It's not
that.
over just yet. LoKen doesn't flash in time, and it means he has to flash after the fact using the cleanse as well. But take a look at the graphic on the bottom of your screen.
If you have time.
If you've got time, because this is all about seeding right now.
It is all about seeding. It is all about V5. Still capable alongside JDG in hitting that first place spot, but we need V5 to try and, well, they need a couple of results to go their way and win every single series, but that's going to be a tough call for them. They've still got EDG and Rogue Warriors left after this series, but they got to take down JDG first here today.
Yagao backing away in the mid lane. He's going to be under constant pressure so far this game. But I just want to quickly iterate what was on that graphic there. V5, the way that they make playoffs is defeating JDG here, or if RNG loses to top esports later today as well, V5 will still manage to find themselves locked in at least in the top 8.
So, after all the shenanigans we've had and all this early aggression, I want to take a quick look at where we're at. Because right now, you've got advantages for JDG on that bottom side of the map, which is why when you look at Kanavi's jungle path, he's gone towards that Raptors, he's going to clear down towards this bottom side and try and use the pressure from LoKen and LvMao, either to try and make another gank onto the flashless Leona, or he can even look at this dragon that has just spawned. And that seems to be the game plan here, with LvMao already trying to get vision around that objective. Whereas when we look at Weiwei, he's kind of been set behind a little bit. He did manage to grab the scuttle on the bottom side of the map, which is so good for him. I was worried he'd actually lose both scuttles because of the way Kanavi had already taken that fight topside and because of the pressure JDG had bought. But at least for the moment, Weiwei has been able to farm up. He's going to get his first back now and then can have a bit more influence onto the map. But with Kanavi backing first, he's got the one that can make the plays, and there's that dragon that we talked about.
And it is so crucial that JDG and specifically Kanavi is finding these kinds of advantages early on in the game. We already mentioned before the game how when V5 are ahead at 15 minutes, they have an 85% win rate. JDG cannot afford to let this team find advantages, and you can see that they are matching the aggression early.
And the thing is, both of these squads revolve super heavily around that dragon. They want to have that pressure of that third dragon, the soul point coming onto their side. When you look at JD, oh, hang on.
LoKen's in trouble. He doesn't have any summoners right now, but he walks away from the play as Weiwei looks for his route into the battle right now. LvMao will be the target. He's CC'd. The haymaker onto ppgod, though. They turn this one around. 1-for-1 now. As Kanavi finally enters the battle, he's going to jump straight onto wide 4. Should be able to trade it, but there's a flash coming out from the center, and suddenly Kanavi's found himself alone. Yagao and Mole in a 1v1 in the meantime as the double kill comes through. Mole is just about to go down. There's the chrono break to pull out for Yagao. This is absolutely nuts, but Weiwei wants himself 3, but Yagao turns it around.
Yagao managing to dodge
Wait,
away.
what?
What is
Another
going
kill. Zoom gets a solo kill under the enemy tower.
This is the League of Legends that I wanted. This is the brutality I was expecting in this series. Intellect be damned. These teams, they may be playing smart, but this is living by the seat of your pants, making sure that consistently they are outplaying, outperforming their opponents.
And, you know, a lot of people will be saying, this is not intelligent gameplay, this is wanton aggression, but it's not. This is JDG reading what V5 have to do and outplaying them at their own game.
And what we talked about coming into this, V5 want to play through that bot side, but Kanavi has mixed things up. He's already made this gank to try and turn that bottom lane play around, while already LoKen and LvMao have done a great job of doing that for themselves. But Yagao matching Mole on these roams. Mole will oftentimes get involved in these plays in the bottom lane. He said it's a 3v3 a lot of the times when it comes to the mid. It's a 4v3 when it comes to that bottom lane. And for Yagao, great job. One, making that play and counteracting it. This flash away as well means that the watch out Eep, the W from the Lillia, doesn't connect. He manages to get another kill. And in this top lane, Zoom with this counter pick does a great job. Hop away and manages to turn this around onto Biubiu. Just looks like hit 6. Here comes the push in. I'm surprised Biubiu stuck around in this low health, because I imagine W for the stun. There you go. Q, wallop, and you're done for me.
I mean, he had Dominus up, but he didn't get a chance to use it. In a full CC chain there, Biubiu not quite respecting enough. And Kanavi, off the back of all of these early advantages, now gets to go towards the Herald.
And we highlighted in the segment before this how important these objectives are. JDG is first for Baron control in the league and second for Dragon control in the league. When you look at V5, they're third for Baron control and fourth for Dragon control. Both of these teams' game plans revolve very heavily around these early objectives, so then they can set up for later game where they're in control, they can find these fights where they are comfortable, they've got a gold lead, they've scaled to the position that they're happy with, and now JDG are the ones that off of these early plays are setting themselves up through these early objectives.
So we do have JDG with a 1,000 gold lead as of right now, but I do want to bring your eyes to this scoreboard where Weiwei does have 2 kills for himself, also an assist. He's got a tiny CS lead, but importantly, he's already finished his runic echoes. One of the issues with this Lillia is sometimes it can take a little while before... Oh, that was close for Yagao there. It can take a little while before you get your items on board, but those 2 early kills will bridge that gap for Weiwei.
The issue when we look at for V5 fans, when we look at JDG though, is look at where those kills are gone. We have 2 kills already onto Yagao, who are saying, hey look, he wants to try and play in a side lane and then come in for picks or a flank. And now that he's got 2 kills under his belt, this mid lane matchup goes heavily in favor of Yagao, especially now that he's going towards that level 8, level 9. This is usually the point in time where that matchup does swing in favor of the Ekko. That's only doubled down thanks to all that extra gold. And when we look at Zoom as well, he's heavily bullying Biubiu in his top lane. Look at the CS difference and a kill, and he's working towards that black cleaver. You've got so many problems now on V5 side to try and deal with against JDG.
And these advantages are not going to go away unless LoKen gets caught, but he has his cleanse, so he's okay, gets out with his life there. Valiant effort from ppgod, but another effort towards the top side here. The Zoom is going to look for a way into the play. It's going to be Mini Gnar for now, but he's got a whole team alongside him. Shields across the squad as well. Coming out from Senna as Biubiu survives for now. Chrono break out of Yagao, but he goes straight on into the loving arms of Mole. Now looking for Zoom, but he hops out over a minion, and he'll be out of the play.
Swirl Seed not able to connect with Zoom, and he will manage to get out, but good turnaround from V5, and that's exactly the kind of plays that they need to do. Weiwei throughout this split has been so strong at tracking the enemy jungle, tracking the plays that the enemy wants to make. And this time, Weiwei's able to get one up over Kanavi.
So, good little answer there from V5, and it's important that they're starting to fire back in some of these plays.
Yeah, and you can see that Swirl Seed there, comes in, manages to set things up, but realistically, the TP for Mole and Weiwei being here just completely turns that around. And you can see Weiwei already knew that this was coming, just going straight towards that top lane to make sure no shenanigans, but Kanavi!
See you later, Volibear. He's going down immediately. Showstopper from LvMao, and there's a next face breaker as well. Mole can't do anything about this one. Wow, what an answer from JDG.
You don't have the damage from Y4 to try and turn that around. Weiwei, because he's still this Lillia, is quite squishy at the moment. Same when it comes to Mole. So when you get LvMao with these monstrous face breakers, it's turnaround time for JDG.
And that's the thing. Sure, you've caught out Kanavi, but he doesn't have the gold. Look at the 2 carries on the side of JDG. If they're near the play and you've got LvMao CCing people, it doesn't matter if they're outnumbered. They're going to win.
They definitely are. And this is where we've got to start looking at, okay, so what does this mean for the next couple of minutes? Because we've got an Infernal Dragon on the card that both these teams are going to be looking for. You've got 3 kills now into LoKen. He'll be able to most certainly, well, won't have time to back before the Blade of the Rune King now. But JDG, using this Rift Herald, creates pressure in the mid. They can turn towards this Dragon. They will get the Blade, and they're all going into the hands of Yagao. Yagao is so far accelerated in this game, it is unbelievable.
It is rare that you see a first tower of the game with plates as well going down in the mid lane. That is such a phenomenal advantage for JDG, and it means that V5 have just lost a ton of map control.
And it's not too bad at the moment for V5. Because remember what we were talking about. Hey, look, JDG, they are more focused on these side lanes, especially for Yagao. Well, what they want is Yagao to get these side lane turrets down so he can shove in a wave, and then he can move to join in with the rest of JDG in this 1-4 split push. So although the mid lane tower going down does suck, it's still savable for V5 where they can push out these waves, and then as long as they're able to try and protect some of these side lanes a little bit better, they can keep themselves in check. V5 also, at least with Yagao backing now, no teleport available, they're the ones that get advantage over towards this Dragon, which I'm surprised at. I really thought that JDG, after using that Rift Herald mid, would have turned that in towards the Dragon.
I mean, JDG had a 3,000 gold lead leading into that Dragon. It's still V5 that just managed to waltz in off the back of the recall from Yagao, as you say. In the meantime, though, Zoom is like, oh, Biubiu's not here. Fine, I'll take a whole bunch of turret plays for myself as
and
well.
I think that's why. This is, why JDG are trying to make this play is like, look, we can go get a refund.
Oh, hang on, they're under the tower onto LoKen. Look at the burst damage coming on through. Ashe doesn't get to move. LvMao pulls ppgod in, but he's got himself a stopwatch, so he'll move out with his life right now, but this sleep comes through. There's no way to escape from this team of V5. They're locking everybody down, and Yagao, not long for this world, trying to break into the play. ppgod barely survives. The last second heal from Y4.
And you can see Weiwei is doing such a good job in this Lillia, playing around that true damage. The Q, the edges of it, that little shillelagh swing, that's what is where you can get that true damage, and that is doing so much work against Yagao in that situation. So 2 kills back in favor of V5, and JDG now, that 3,000 gold lead, starting to get a little bit smaller, but they did manage to get that top lane
They
turret.
got literally 10 times the turret plate gold of their opponents right there. The top lane turret went down. As you said, they got the first turret in the mid lane as well. But in terms of kills, scoreboard right now is 7 for 7. It's a 2,000 gold lead in favor of JDG.
And this is the play where we got to see on bot side. LoKen gets just about caught by the Zenith Blade of ppgod, and then that burst damage coming through over the top is just crazy at the moment. Let me look at Weiwei here as well. Yagao realizes too little too late that he's been caught out. There's the sleep from the ultimate. Then you got Mo following up. The burst damage is too high. Fair play from Yagao to try and finish off ppgod. Nerdy manages it, but just not quite.
So now, finally, V5 are going to be the ones to grab themselves a Herald, and they might be able to get down one of these towers. But they are 3 towers down right now. They're falling so far behind in tempo when it comes to those, but Yagao is in a 1 versus 5 right now. Everybody jumping on in. Does get himself the shield, which means he can escape. And now Kanavi looking for the re-engage onto ppgod. Suddenly, out of nowhere, there's a whole bunch of action. But it's more up in the top side right now.
Look at where LvMao is, though. He's still looking for these plays. Doesn't have the flash available.
He's kind of lonely right now, but Biubiu looks to be the target. Facebreaker in. LoKen is here. The Crystalline Arrow going to be held onto for now.
But as you said, Munch, Mole is still in this top side. He's still pushing in this turret. And at the moment, V5, because they haven't gone down to any of these plays, they're still relatively okay. So we get a lot of tussling back and forth. No one falls except this tower in this top side.
So V5 finally get themselves their first tower of the game. 3,000 is the gold lead for now, but once this tower falls, that will be minimized ever so slightly here for V5.
And we're starting to see these crucial items for Victory 5 come in as well, because this game has been very much accelerated with how quick it has been. So you've got that Black Cleaver nearly completed now for Y4. You're seeing the Rylei's Crystal Scepter is going to be the first port of call for Weiwei as well. So a lot of control in these fights, but bot side.
Yagao wants to go for a 1v1 onto the Vietnamese alligator. Not going to find it for now. And he will just force Biubiu out of the lane. Biubiu is not having a fun game. Look at the CS deficit that he's found at the top lane.
He's not having a good time at all, and this is why Zoom is actually pretty terrified when you give him a counter matchup, especially if you're going to first pick this Renekton, and Biubiu just won't be able to stand toe-to-toe. I mean, look, he hasn't even got his Black Cleaver completed. You look over at Zoom, Black Cleaver. Now he's got that Abyssal Mask completed as well. Like, he is so far accelerated right now, it is unbelievable.
I mean, you're absolutely right. He's on 2 tanky items for himself. Well, I guess the Black Cleaver, not really that much of a tanky item, but he's going to be getting massive. Once he turns into Mega Gnar during these fights, it's going to be difficult to deal with. But I'm keeping my eyes on Weiwei here as he recalls, might be able to finish off his second item. Oh, he's so close, but he's not going to be able to finish it off just yet. Could be the Rylai's, could be the Liandry's. You'd expect potentially the Liandry's first.
Well, he's kind of gone for a bit of a mixture there. I wasn't sure what we'd see. Usually we do see the Liandry's first, or at least the Haunting guys, and then you can go build into something else. A little bit of times we'll see like Haunting guys into Dead Man's Plate, and then you would just stick at that. But especially when he has that Blasting Wand already, could just work straight up towards the full Liandry's Torment, then over into the Rylei's Crystal Scepter.
So everything has suddenly slowed down a little bit here, Dagda. We're seeing these two teams take a breather. So what is the next step? If you're a JDG fan, they've got themselves the lead. How do they turn this lead into a victory?
Well,
oh,
they have to hang on.
Lullaby comes out onto LoKen. He's going to have to cleanse. Just about survives the Unleashed Power. Mole might not be able to survive, though, as he's taken down by Kanavi. Yagao on the backline, jumping onto Y4 as well. Forces a flash for himself. Still has the Chrono Break available as Weiwei ignited and trying to prance away, but the bear chomps on down and hits him with the paws. ppgod just about gets underneath his tower here, but another fight going the way of JDG.
And that's how JDG tried to accelerate this game. It's by shoving out a side lane and then having Yagao come in with that teleport, come in from a flank position and get onto V5. If you've got multiple different directions that this fight is trying to kick off from, it's actually pretty difficult for V5 to deal with. Whereas for JDG, they are looking so good right now. They've got their 4,000 gold lead. They're getting their second dragon. Rift Herald, though, is still in the hands of Weiwei, but it's going to time out pretty quickly. He's got to get that one out onto the map.
It's not ideal when you're just going to have to drop it in a random lane either. So it started off onto LoKen.
And this is a major overcommitment from V5. There's no reason to try and go for this play. All they really wanted to do here was take the tower. You had the Rift Herald there, you had the members, but unfortunately, when LvMao gets caught out by that Enchanted Crystal Arrow from LoKen, that's when JDG are able to collapse. And you actually have a ward there that spots that JDG are kind of sitting in that river area. So I'm surprised to see V5 go for the play.
So they do finally get this mid lane tower down. They're going to look for a second charge with the Rift Herald. They should be able to get, at very least, the charge here, but there's no way for them to fully contest onto the tower. And I want to quickly mention that play before we get more action coming off here, Dagda, that this is JDG we're talking about. And the second that you overcommit, the second you overstep as V5, like they did onto LoKen in that mid lane tower, JDG of all teams is going to punish you 100% of the time.
And that's exactly what JDG are doing. They are trying to, with this composition, punish the draft from V5. You saw that early Renekton come in. Right, we're going to go straight towards this Gnar. We're going to have a fantastic laning phase here for Zoom. Same with Yagao. Kanavi making sure that Yagao again is set up in that mid lane beautifully. And then we have LoKen and LvMao powering home in that bottom lane. The duo kills again and again. JDG are looking so on form. And after what we'd already highlighted as a couple of shaky series from these, this is the JDG that we saw in that Spring Split final. Why they are our Spring Split champions.
JDG feels like, even though they did have some rough series this split, they've had some games that they've lost. It feels like it's all been part of the training montage. I feel like I'm watching Rocky Balboa right now. They've been training up, and now against the tougher opponents, they're pulling out all of the stops. And this is the clean, consistent JDG that we got so used to back this year.
And unfortunately for V5, it's not exactly the V5 that we have seen. They tried to play through this bottom side of the map, hasn't quite worked out for them. Weiwei is going still for these carry-orientated junglers. I mean, the Lillia here, but no engage from Yagao. He has gone towards that Riley's Crystal Scepter as a second item, so trying to be a little bit more utility-focused here, but
there's going to be the lilting lullaby here onto Kanavi, who's just going to leap out of the play. This is the thing about Volibear. He's so damn safe. The jump is just so hard to deal with.
And as well, when you're on Weiwei's side, he has actually used that ultimate, so trying to lock down Kanavi, but they weren't quite able to do so. So it's ultimate for ultimate. And for anyone who's a little bit confused by Lillia, actually we probably should mention that. Basically the way Lillia's ult works is, if you deal damage to someone, then you can ult and they will fall asleep after a short period of time. So that's why V5 are very much relying on Weiwei getting multiple people hit by Weiwei's abilities so they can then put to sleep multiple people in JDG's.
It's a little like Zoe's sleep, where it's going to take a second to kick in and then you'll be essentially stunned for a few seconds there. But it's important to mention that the actual ult itself has unlimited range. It just has to have a mark on someone previously. The marks can only be applied by Lillia, but that Swirl Seed, the E, has unlimited range, so there are ways to make picks happen at a very long distance.
And as well, just like with Zoe's sleep, if you wake someone up from that sleep, they're not happy because they've just taken a whole heap of extra damage as well. So this is where you've got to be relying on multiple people sleeping in these fights, and why Weiwei wants JDG to be jumping in on top of them, and how V5 can potentially make these fights work. But though, unfortunately for them, JDG are doing such a good job of separating out these fights, finding more skirmish-orientated scraps where they are more suited to that style of play.
I do just want to quickly mention, as we look over the scoreboard here, that Weiwei, despite being the guy that was on the V5 that really didn't work out in spring, despite being essentially the new member stepping back in, he's looking like the most consistent member on the entire team right now.
And that's what we said in the last games. He was on that 15 KDA after 2 games. He had been looking good. The problem is, V5 as a whole have to be looking good for them to try and face off against JDG. And right now, JDG are controlling this map. Now moving in towards this more split push orientated role that we were talking about. Yagao in a side lane. Zuma's built not for a side lane. He's built for these team fights. So it will be this 1-4 split push with JDG trying to enable Yagao or have him joining these flanks with TP or just wandering through the jungle of V5.
So, Dagda, I want to quickly talk about some scaling options here for V5 because Yagao actually maybe stepping a little too far. Does have the TP available for himself. But when you see a Senna on a team, when you see things like Syndra as well, what does it look like for V5 in the later stages of the game? Does this get better for them?
It's not, as we said in the beginning, so much of a scaling thing. It's like V5 want to try and find 5v5 fights where they can actually set up front to back. Fortunately for them, though, JDG are not giving them that option. Yagao in a side lane. They're coming in from multiple different positions, and here we go, TP for this dragon fight.
TP down into the bottom lane right here from Yagao. You can see that JDG really want to fight for this one. It's only a Cloud Drake right here. This is getting them to soul point, but it wouldn't be the soul itself. Zoom looking to try and build his Rage Gene before the fight kicks off, but he's forced into the pit here. Yagao looking for a 1v1. Dragon finally taken by JDG, and they're forced to fight immediately. ppgod with the stone plate increases LvMao's damage. Look at the combo. JDG, that was perfect.
It's not even close. JDG wiped the floor with V5. They get the dragon, and they can turn directly towards this Baron. And LoKen, with that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, sets up everything.
LvMao, you are a beautiful, beautiful man. That was insane. The split-second ppgod stone plate comes up. He goes for the showstopper. It just half-healths everyone on the team of V5.
It was so well played from JDG, but that's the decisiveness we want to see from our top team in the league right now. This is the play we've been begging JDG to show us in the last couple of series. And once again, when they are up against the top teams in the LPL, that's when they show it. Biubiu does a good job here of trying to separate Yagao from the fight, but that doesn't matter, because LvMao slam dunk, face breaker onto everyone. And from that point forward, there's no turning back as Yagao comes in from the side and LoKen's free firing the whole time.
Some beautiful positioning there from LoKen as well to dodge away from the solar flare. So with that lethal tempo, he could just be hammering these arrows out. And now suddenly, things have gone from bad to worse for V5. They were about 5,000 gold down before. Now they're about 8,000 gold down. This is starting to become insurmountable. They've got to find a miracle play.
And that's the thing, is that JDG, although they're opting into these fights, although they end up all brawling constantly, it's JDG that are playing the map better. They're always trading up in towers before these fights were happening. They're willing to sacrifice a dragon where Zoom could get pressure topside. They can make plays towards Rift Heralds. This is why this was the trial of intellect, because even though JDG can tussle with the best of them, they've still got the mind of a fighter behind it.
And that's the thing, right? It's not that them being intelligent means that they're not good mechanical players. They're exceptional mechanical players. It's just that it's not their only strength. They have way more in the arsenal than that. And one important thing about that last fight as well is Zoom didn't even have Mega Gnar. They didn't even have all of their ultimates available. And the Gnar ultimate is such a crucial team-fighting team in most compositions that run Gnar. JDG still get away with it just off the back of Luke.
And this is now so difficult for V5 to try and defend against. Zoom is super far ahead of Biubiu, so he's able to control the spot side. Yagao, well,
my goodness.
Here's a demonstration.
Ball's being pushed towards the rest of JDG here. The Z-Drive Resonance not going to be able to be used though, and actually Yagao's the one in trouble, trying to get out of the play, has a stopwatch to keep himself safe as everybody jumps into the fray to keep this mid laner alive. Yagao gets out with his life. Kanavi might have sacrificed his own to make the play happen though. ppgod looking to chase his Biubiu, looks to find a way in. In goes the Croc, spinning it around the shadow across the squad, and suddenly things turn on their head.
V5 managed to find the play, over aggression from JDG, nets at opening for V5, and they will not be able to get onto Yagao, but they are going to be very happy with defending that Baron play and getting so many of them removed from the JDG side.
And they kept their inhibitors alive. This happened before the siege could really commit, but in goes Yagao once again. ppgod's the target. He finds one for himself, looking for the 2v1. Is Weiwei forced out of this one. Swirl Seed. It looks like the ultimate on cooldown.
Ekko with these double cloud dragons is so disgusting. Look, his ult is nearly back up. It's halfway off that cooldown, and Yagao is playing around this amazingly. Bit too far here when we get to this play, where JDG are forced to try and rescue Yagao, but I believe at this stage, it's not going to net too much here for V5. There's not like there's any big objectives that they can go and play for. It will give them a bit of gold back in the favor and shut down the farm play, but we still have that Cloud Soul that's now coming up and available for JDG. And you've invested a lot there from V5. The TP on Biubiu, flash from Biubiu as well. So I'll be curious to see now how V5 try and approach this next dragon fight, because that's going to be the big one here. That's where you can have JDG running towards that soul. And as we already saw, Yagao is a nuisance when he gets this ultimate cooldown reduction. And now give him a speed up after that as well. It's going to be super hard to lock down Yagao.
So Yagao oversteps his team pace for it during that skirmish, but it looks like it's V5 that have overstepped this time. 3 of them caught out in the mid lane, and the whole of JDG is here to punish. LoKen got found by Mole. He's just going to get annihilated, as Syndra often does annihilate AD carries. And Mole, he's looking to proxy a wave because he knows he's in trouble. Yagao going to be chasing this one on through, and I don't think there's a way that Mole gets out of the play. It is possible, however, to see some kind of shenanigans. Wait, no it isn't. The rest of the squad's here as well. Kanavi in with the bear slap onto Mole.
Phase rush.
Should finish him off in the end. It was a long charade. He bought a lot of time, but zooms in the base.
Buying time is better than actually losing more of their base, because Biubiu won't be able to defend against Zoom. Zoom will get this, but it does stop the likes of that bottom lane turret, which is super low, from going down. Unfortunately, though, JDG will be able to pick up this dragon. V5 cannot defend, and now we've got Elder in 6 minutes. We got a Baron in a minute, and JDG do not look like they are going to stop taking over this game.
Absolutely not. Yagao as well has a Dark Seal with 10 stacks right now. I'd love to see him go and upgrade that for his final item. But what an arrow coming out onto Weiwei.
What coordination from JDG. They see a single opportunity. Slightly overextended here from V5, and that's all that JDG need. The arrow into the showstopper, into JDG, picking off so many members of V5, and then you don't even get a chance to fight for that dragon.
Look at the Gnar ult cooldown ticking away on the top right. Well, he's just changed form, so he ruined it. But the Gnar ultimate looks like it's got about a 20-second cooldown at this point. You can maybe do that twice in a fight.
It gets a little bit silly when we get to 3 Cloud Dragons for JDG's side. This is why they're perfectly happy to start firing out these ultimates willy-nilly. Like LoKen's Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you can just fire that out. Maybe you make a pick, doesn't matter, you'll have that up super fast. Same with Yagao and his ultimate. He's able to play a little bit more forward, try to be a little bit more aggressive, try and make these death-defying Ekko plays.
We'll see, not going to connect. Here we go, arrow in. It's going to be a flash from Mole to dodge that one out as LvMao stopped from the play. Yagao has to go golden to keep himself safe as Weiwei on the back line, getting chased down by Zoom, who finishes him on the back side. Now Biubiu trying to get into play, but he's knocked into the wall as the rest of the squad from V5 is taken on down. This is going to be game 1. This is a dominant showing from JDG.
JDG come out swinging in game number 1, saying, hey V5, welcome to playoffs. This is what you've got to face.
Yeah, this is your final trial, the intellect of JDG. They're going to read you like a book. They're going to look at your strategies and counter them beautifully. Not to mention the insane team fighting that we see every single time. What a performance from our spring champion.